The first time I realized I'd been replaced, I was still standing in the room, smiling like I belonged there. It was a Thursday evening in Valencia, the kind of warm coastal night that makes everything feel lighter than it is. We were at my partner's agency mixer. Soft music, polished glasses, people laughing too loudly to prove they were relaxed. I just finished introducing my girlfriend to a senior client when she slipped her hand out of mine and didn't take it back. Before we go any further, if you like true-to-life relationship stories with tension, consequences, and the kind of ending that hits hard, subscribe to the channel. It helps these stories reach the people who need them most. My name is Jonah. I'm 38 now. What happened after that night didn't arrive as a single explosion. It came as a chain of small humiliations, each one easy to explain away if you were determined to keep believing. I met Mirella 6 years earlier in Ljubljana. I was there for a short contract, process optimization for a freight company that moved goods between rail hubs. I didn't love the travel, but the pay was solid and the work was predictable, which suited me. Mirella was the opposite of predictable. She worked in creative strategy for an international advertising agency, sharp as a blade, always moving, always speaking like she was already living next month. We met at a crowded street festival. She was buying roasted chestnuts and arguing with the vendor about whether they were actually roasted or simply warmed. I laughed, she turned, and suddenly I was in a conversation I didn't want to end. She had that talent, making you feel like the rest of the city had dimmed just for you. We dated long distance for a while. Then she got an offer in Spain, and I got a transfer that let me work remotely. We moved to Valencia together, telling friends we were doing the big leap the right way. Both of us chasing opportunity, both of us building a life we actually wanted. At first, it was good. It was better than good. The apartment was small but bright, with a balcony that caught the evening breeze. We explored the city on weekends. She posted pictures of us like we were the perfect modern couple. Ambitious woman, supportive partner, sunlit life. I didn't mind being in the background. I've always been someone who measures love by what I do, not what I announce. When Mirella's agency went through a brutal restructuring, that quiet loyalty became my whole role. She started coming home late, exhausted, furious at vague leadership decisions. Projects disappeared overnight. Colleagues were cut without warning. One day she walked in, tossed her laptop bag onto the sofa and said, "They're going to make me fight for my own job." "I can't believe this." I said, "Then don't fight alone." She lasted 2 more months before they pushed her out. Officially, it was reorganization. Unofficially, it was politics. She spiraled the way proud people spiral, trying to appear fine while breaking in private. I covered our rent without hesitation. I took on all the bills. I even paused a certification program I'd been working toward because the exam fee suddenly mattered more. She cried one night in the kitchen, sitting on the floor with her back against the cabinets. "I hate feeling dependent," she whispered. I knelt beside her and said, "You're not dependent. You're regrouping. I've got you." She held my wrist like it was a rope keeping her above water. "You're the only steady thing," she said. "Don't ever change." I took that as love. I didn't realize someone can praise your stability while planning to use it. After she found a new role, same industry, slightly smaller agency, her mood lifted fast. She became herself again. Social, witty, hungry for recognition. I was happy for her. I thought we'd made it through the rough part. Then Victor appeared. His name showed up first as a joke. "Victor would die if he saw these tapas," she said one night, scrolling through restaurant photos. "He's such a food snob." I asked, "Who's Victor?" "Just someone from my old office," she said, breezy, like it didn't matter. "He's ridiculous. Don't worry, I didn't worry, not right away." But then his name kept drifting into our life like smoke. Victor says, Victor thinks the creative director is terrified of him. It was always framed like a story, a punchline, something harmless. The first time I felt truly uncomfortable was at a beach gathering with her new colleagues. I was holding 2 cups of sangria, weaving through people on the sand, looking for her. I found her near the shoreline, laughing with a tall guy in a linen shirt. She touched his arm as she talked. Not a friendly pat. A lingering contact, the kind you don't notice unless you've been with someone long enough to know their habits. When she saw me, she didn't look guilty. She looked annoyed, like I'd interrupted. "This is Jonah," she said without enthusiasm. "My partner." The guy extended his hand. "Victor," he said, smiling as if we were already friends. "She's told me a lot about you." I shook his hand. His grip was confident. Too confident, like he wanted me to feel it. "Hope it's good," I said. He laughed. "Mostly. You're the calm one, right?" Morella laughed too. "He's extremely calm," she said, as if it were a punchline. "He doesn't get jealous." I forced a smile. "Do I have a choice?" She didn't answer that. After that, little things changed. Morella started dressing differently for work dinners. She wore perfume she used to save for special occasions. She kept her phone face down. If it buzzed, she glanced at it and smiled to herself before slipping it into her pocket. I asked once, gently, "Are you happy?" She blinked like the question was absurd. "Of course." "Why? I just feel like you're far away lately." She exhaled sharply. "Don't do this, Jonah. I'm finally back on my feet and you're trying to drag me into a therapy session." I backed off. That's my flaw. I give people space even when space is where they hide their worst decisions. The tension built quietly. It wasn't constant fighting. It was constant uncertainty. I started measuring my words, choosing the safest tone, the least demanding question. I told myself I was being supportive. In reality, I was training myself not to expect anything. Then came the Thursday mixer, the night I mentioned at the beginning. Morella's agency hosted it at a sleek rooftop venue. She invited me last minute, saying it would look good if I came. I put on a button-down shirt, rehearsed polite small talk, and showed up ready to be her steady anchor in a room full of ambitious people. For the first half hour, she stayed close. She introduced me to a few colleagues, joked about how I kept her grounded. I felt proud, relieved, even. Then Victor arrived. The change in her was immediate. Her posture lifted, her smile sharpened. She stepped away from me as if pulled by gravity. Victor hugged her. A full embrace. She pressed her cheek against his in that way that's almost a kiss if you tilt your head wrong. I watched her disappear into a cluster of people, laughing too loudly, leaning in too close. I told myself I was imagining it. I told myself I was tired. I told myself 100 lies because the truth was waiting and I wasn't ready. At one point, I approached to stand beside her. She didn't move to make room. She didn't reach for my hand. She just kept talking to Victor as if I wasn't there. Someone asked how long we'd been together. "Almost 6 years," I said. Morella glanced at me like she'd forgotten I was listening. "Yeah," she said, then turned back to Victor. "It's been a while." Victor smirked. "A while is right. That's commitment." His tone made it sound like a museum exhibit. Later, I found Morella near the edge of the rooftop, looking down at the streetlights. I stepped beside her. "Can we talk for a second?" She didn't look up. "About what?" "About this." I gestured subtly toward the party. "You've been distant. And Victor?" She cut me off with a low laugh. "Oh my God, are we doing this here?" "I'm not accusing you," I said. "I'm asking what's going on." She finally turned to face me. Her expression wasn't angry, it was impatient, as if I were a coworker slowing her down. "You want to know what's going on?" she said. "Fine, I'm tired of pretending you don't notice." My throat tightened. "Okay." She took a slow breath, then delivered the sentence with the same composure you use to order a drink. "You're not who I imagined ending up with," she said. "You're dependable. And right now, dependability is enough." I stared at her. The rooftop noise faded. My mind did something strange, like it opened a hidden drawer and dumped every ignored warning onto the table at once. "So, I'm..." Enough, I said, carefully, but not chosen. She shrugged slightly. Don't make it dramatic. You're great on paper. You're kind. You're stable. You make life easier. And Victor? Her lips curved. Victor makes life feel alive. That was when something in me went quiet, not numb. Clear. I nodded once. Got it. She blinked, thrown off by the lack of a fight. That's it? Yes, I said, and walked back into the crowd with a calm I didn't recognize. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't cry either. I sat on the balcony at dawn, listening to the city wake up, and I realized how tired I was of being grateful for scraps of respect. Over the next 3 days, I acted normal. I didn't interrogate her. I didn't plead. I didn't search her phone. I planned. I booked a short-term rental in Castellón, a coastal town far enough away to feel like another life. I requested remote work for a week under the excuse of family matters. I contacted a storage service and scheduled a pickup. I moved quietly, deliberately, as if I were evacuating a building with a cracked foundation. On Monday morning, Mirella kissed my cheek on her way out. Casual, automatic. Busy day, she said. Yeah, I replied, and watched her leave as if I were watching a door close on the version of myself who used to wait. As soon as she was gone, I packed what mattered. Laptop, documents, clothes, a few personal items. I didn't take shared furniture. I didn't take gifts. I left behind the items that belonged to the life we pretended was mutual. On the kitchen table, I placed my keys and a note. If I'm only enough for now, then I'm done being convenient. Then I left. Her first text came 3 hours later. Where are you? I didn't reply. The next one, this is childish. Come home. Then, answer me. By evening, her tone changed. Can we talk? Please. I kept my silence. I wasn't punishing her. I was protecting myself from being pulled back into negotiations over my own dignity. Friends started calling. One of her coworkers messaged me. Hey, Mirella's upset. She says you just vanished. What happened? I answered with one sentence. We wanted different things. Some people understood, others didn't. A few repeated her version, that I couldn't handle her career, that I overreacted, that I was insecure. I let it happen. I didn't need to win a social vote. I needed to heal. The first month was hard, not because I missed her exactly, but because I missed the identity I'd built around being her steady constant. Without that role, I had to face myself. Therapy helped. So did long runs along the sea. So did the quiet relief of not being evaluated daily. In month 2, I took the certification exam I'd postponed and passed. In month 3, my boss offered me a promotion tied to a new project in Oslo. I accepted without asking anyone for permission. I moved into a modest place near the tram line, started fresh routines, and found joy in decisions that didn't require negotiation. Meanwhile, the alive life Mirella chose began to rot from the inside. I didn't learn this from spying. I learned it the way you learn most truths, through whispers that eventually become unavoidable. A mutual friend, Lena, called one night. I don't know if you want to hear this, she said, but Mirella's situation is bad. I stayed silent. She moved in with Victor, Lena continued. Fast, like immediately after you left. I felt a small sting, more confirmation than pain. And it's not what she thought, Lena said. He's messy, he's in debt, he's controlling. He blows up over nothing. She's been calling people crying. I didn't respond. Lena exhaled. I'm not telling you to do anything. I wish you'd known what she was really choosing. I did know. That was the point. A few weeks later, another message arrived. From Mirella herself. I'm sorry, I get it now. Can we meet? Just to talk? I ignored it. Then, he's not who I thought he was. I made a mistake. Then, I miss home. I miss you. The last one made me laugh, short and humorless. Home. She missed what I provided, not who I was. I blocked her number. That should have been the end, but some people don't accept losing control quietly. They escalate. Morella started showing up in places she knew I would be. Outside the gym near my apartment. At the cafe by the tram stop. Once, she waited in the lobby of my building like it was her right. The first time I saw her there, she looked different. Not just sad, frayed. Her hair was pulled back in a sloppy twist. Her eyes were swollen. The confident sharpness was gone, replaced by something raw and frantic. "Jonah," she said, stepping toward me. I kept the distance. "You can't be here, please," she whispered. "Just 5 minutes." I glanced around. The concierge was watching. A neighbor walked by slowly, curious. I didn't want a scene. "Outside," I said, and stepped out into the cold air. She followed, hands shaking. "I messed up," she said immediately. "Victor is not what he pretended. He checks my phone. He tracks where I go. He blew up because I had coffee with Lena. He said it was disrespect." I didn't react. I listened the way you listen to a storm you no longer live inside. "And I lost my job," she added, voice cracking. "They let me go. They said my focus wasn't there, but you know why. It's because everything is chaos now." She looked at me like I was medicine. "You were the only stable thing. You were the only person who never made me feel unsafe." I didn't raise my voice. "You told me I was convenient." "That was a stupid sentence," she pleaded. "I didn't mean it like that." "You meant it exactly like that," I said. "You said it when you thought there would be no consequences." Her face twisted. "So what? You're going to punish me forever?" "I'm not punishing you," I replied. "I'm choosing myself." She grabbed my sleeve. I stepped back. "Don't," I said, and my tone finally carried warning. Tears slid down her cheeks. "Please, just let me come over, just for tonight. I can sleep on the couch. I have nowhere else." "You have friends," I said. "They're tired," she admitted. "People are tired of my problems." I held her gaze. "I'm tired too." She stared at me like she didn't recognize that answer. Then her expression hardened. "So you're really going to be this cold?" "I'm being consistent," I said. "Something you used to claim you loved." She flinched, and for a second I almost felt pity. But pity is dangerous when it tempts you back into old patterns. I walked inside and told the concierge to call security if she returned. For a while, she disappeared. Then came the invitation. My company was hosting a large cross-industry summit in Oslo. Transport, media, logistics, branding. I was on the panel for operational strategy, a role I'd earned through months of work. It was a public event with partners, press, and plenty of people who loved gossip. 2 days before the summit, I received an email from an unknown address. It was Morella. "I know you'll be at the summit. I need you to hear me. Please don't ignore me in public. Don't make me look crazy." I stared at the screen. The audacity was familiar. Even broken, she wanted to control the narrative. I didn't reply. The summit night arrived. The venue was bright, modern, filled with suits and badges and small talk. I was calm, focused. I reminded myself I was there for my career, not my past. My panel went well. People approached afterward to shake my hand. One executive complimented my presentation. I felt proud, clean pride, earned pride. Then I heard my name said like a weapon. Jonah. I turned. Morella stood in the middle of the crowd, eyes bright with anger and desperation, wearing a dress that looked like it had been chosen to make a point. People around us slowed, sensing something happening. "What are you doing here?" I asked, low. "You're going to talk to me," she said, louder than necessary. "You can't keep pretending I don't exist." Heads turned. Conversations stalled. A few people recognized her from her industry circles. The air tightened. "This isn't the place," I said. "It is exactly the place," she snapped. You left me, you humiliated me, you disappeared like I was nothing. I felt my pulse rise, but my voice stayed steady. You said I was convenient. She laughed harshly. Oh my God, you're still on that one sentence? You're acting like you're perfect. I'm not perfect, I said. I'm just not available to be used. She stepped closer. Victor ruined my life. I lost my job. I lost my home. Everyone looks at me like I'm toxic. And you… Her voice cracked, then hardened again. You're standing here like you're above it. People were openly watching now. A colleague approached, then stopped, unsure. Morella's eyes filled. You were supposed to be my person, she said, and the statement sounded more like accusation than grief. I took a breath. If I tried to protect her dignity, she'd drag mine down anyway. The truth deserved air. You told me I wasn't your choice, I said clearly. You said I was dependable and that it was enough for now. You said another man made you feel alive. So, I left. I didn't argue because I didn't want to compete for basic respect. A ripple moved through the crowd. Someone murmured. Morella's face flushed. You're lying, she hissed. No, I said. You just didn't think I'd take you seriously. She stared at me, trembling. So what? You're here to shame me? I'm here to do my job, I replied. You came to make a scene. And you did. Her voice rose again. You could have helped me. You could have answered. You could have been a man. My chest tightened, and the last restraint snapped. Not into rage, but into honesty sharp enough to cut. I was a man, I said, loud enough for the people in the back to hear. I paid the bills when you fell. I supported you when you felt small. I turned down opportunities so you could chase yours. And then you reduced me to convenient. Don't stand here and demand masculinity from the person you treated like furniture. Silence dropped like a curtain. Morella's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Her eyes darted around, realizing how many witnesses she had created. A security staff member approached cautiously. Is everything okay here? Morella's face crumpled. For a second, I saw the woman I loved, frightened, overwhelmed, drowning in consequences. Then she straightened, grabbed her bag, and shoved past the crowd. As she walked away, someone near me whispered, Damn. Another person quietly said, Good for you. My colleague finally stepped closer. You want me to… I shook my head. I'm fine, I said, and I was. Not because the scene felt good. It didn't. Public conflict never feels clean. But for the first time, I wasn't carrying her story for her. I wasn't protecting her from the truth at my own expense. Later that night, I stood outside the venue in cold air, watching my breath rise. My phone buzzed once. A message from an unknown number. You didn't have to do that. I stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it without replying. I learned something painful over the past year. Some people don't miss you until you stop absorbing the consequences of their choices. They don't want reconciliation. They want relief. I don't hate Morella. I don't wish her misery. But I also don't volunteer to be someone's safety net after they've tried to trade it for fireworks. My life is quieter now. I work, I run, I sleep. I've started dating again, slowly, carefully, with standards I used to be afraid to have. And when someone calls me dependable, I no longer hear it as boring. I hear it as proof that I'm built to last. And I won't let anyone treat that like a temporary convenience ever again.